The Chief Supreme Court Justice of Kentucky is surveying judges across the state to see if he should recommend opening up child protection courts.
Kentucky's one of 21 states that still close child protection proceedings, but there's a growing movement here to open them up after the Inspector General of Kentucky, in this report, documented widespread abuses within the child protection system. Tonight, we continue our 3-year-long investigation of Kentucky CPS.
The bureaucracy of workers benefit financially by a system that converts children into cash while destroying their families and their lives.
And it's all driven by money. All of the taking of the children that is going on right now.
Is Child Protective Services just an official government kidnapping ring?
Basically, yes.
CPS is the agency that's charged with protecting children.
Its investigators and caseworkers make decisions that impact the lives of thousands of Texas families.
So who are the people making these life-changing decisions?
CBS 42 investigative reporter Nancy Wilson looked into the backgrounds of child welfare workers. What she found may surprise you.
Assault, burglary, DWI, theft, domestic violence, indecent exposure, prostitution, possession of cocaine and marijuana, and selling alcohol to minors. What do all of these crimes have in common? They are just some of the crimes committed by people who work for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. That's right, the agency in charge of protecting Texas children. We found more than 370 employees have a criminal background. Some have direct contact with foster kids. David Mendoza pled guilty to assault with bodily injury to a family member and violating a protective order. He's a CPS supervisor in El Paso. Richard Landon was arrested for indecent exposure in 1997, and in 1994 he was arrested for prostitution after soliciting an undercover cop. He also works for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services.
The removal of more than 400 children from the FLDS ranch in West Texas has put Child Protective Services under the microscope.
That case has led others to wonder if they could do that to FLDS children. Can CPS do that to my children?
CBS 42 investigative reporter Nancy Wilson shows us one family who says the same thing happened to them, and 8 years later, they're still trying to clear their names.
And you take 13 kids.
Gates was shocked to find CPS workers in his home uninvited.
That opened my eyes to a whole new way of government.
Especially when CPS refused to leave.
In my being naive, I really kind of fell back on this Fourth Amendment thing. You know, you're kind of raised that you had protection in the home.
Gates said it didn't matter.
At the end of that day, 6 deputies and 5 CPS officials came into our house and removed all 13 children in emergency taking.
One by one, all 13 of the Gates children were removed from their homes, loaded into a paddy wagon, and taken to foster homes.
That's wrong.
It was done without a court order under what's called an emergency removal. The law allows it only when there's a danger to the physical health and safety of a child and the need for removal is necessary. What was the danger?
The reason they later on said in court is, well, we felt Mr. Gates was uncooperative, and his uncooperativeness with us put the children at risk.
First thing Monday morning, the Gates were in court. The judge ordered CPS to return the children immediately, but to be safe, the judge ordered an independent evaluation.
Psychologist Jay Bevan conducted the home study. He wrote a glowing report, concluding with, "I've never said this about anyone I've ever evaluated. I admire the Gates. I would not hesitate to place my own children in their care." According to court records, CPS's response was both the department and CASA have found Dr. Bevan's report disappointing.
You would think they'd be saying, you know what, this is great. We don't need to be involved here. Let us go on to somewhere else where there is some real issues. But instead, they say, well, we're disappointed. And they have just continued to dig in their heels.
Even though the court dismissed the case against the Gates, CPS continues to classify them as child abusers in the state's central registry.
They said, well, we felt that you emotionally abused this one child, and since all the kids saw that, that's 13 counts of abuse on those children. And because your wife didn't stop it, that's 13 counts of emotional abuse from her.
The Gates were never charged with any crime. They are guilty based solely on the opinion of CPS. They say such a system is unconstitutional.
They've spent the last 8 years and $175,000 trying to get their names removed from the registry. And like them, a number of parents have appealed. They've increased 265% in the past 2 years. Now, it can be a lengthy and sometimes expensive process, but the Gates say it's worth it to clear their name.
So I took him out of that school and I put him in another school. everything was fine for a while until they got the records from the other school. Then the same thing happened. They started calling me at work saying, Vincent won't sit still, you need to come in and have a meeting. And again, I went to the meeting and they said, you have to put your son on Ritalin or we'll put him in a special school. I took him out of that school and put him in another school, Sunnyvale. And that is where they called CPS, Child Protective Services, and when I was at work, they took my son out of daycare and they put him in an institution. When I got home from work, there was a card on my door from a police officer, and it said, please call me regarding your son.
The Division of Family Services was originally set up to protect children, but I don't see that happening anymore. They're used as a way for people to report one another, for children to even report their parents. Instead of helping children, I see them going into homes, pulling these kids out of homes so that they can put them on drugs.
I called the Sunnyvale Police Department, and then immediately I picked up the phone to call my mother. And the next thing I know, the police officer just came right through my door without even knocking or anything. He grabbed the phone away from me. He says, you're not calling anyone. And he slammed me down. I thought, this guy's crazy. And so I started crawling away from him, and he grabbed my ankle so hard and pulled me back that I still have his fingerprints in my ankles to this day.
The teacher was telling me that he wasn't learning the way he should be learning, that he wouldn't learn unless I opted for the medication, because the medication would help him learn. I unfortunately at that point kind of bowed down to the school and what they were saying and the pressure they were putting on me, and I, went with the drugs.
Approximately 10% of boys from ages 6 through 12 or so are taking psychotropic medication, and this is just an appalling statistic to me as a parent and as a physician.
In the early 90s, there was a huge spike in children being diagnosed ADHD and subsequently being put on Ritalin. At that time, several things happened. The federal government awarded schools more money based upon more children being diagnosed ADHD. And also for low-income families, if a child was diagnosed ADHD and put on Ritalin, the family received a lot more money monthly.
Cash bonuses to the states for every child they adopted out of foster care.
More money based upon more children being diagnosed ADHD.
Cash bonuses to the states for every child they adopted out of foster care.
It's frightening how easy it is for children to be diagnosed. They are being diagnosed by school teachers and by school personnel of all types in all school districts across the country.
Remember the case of Vanessa Shanks, who had her kids taken away, and when she fought back, saw her relatives' kids taken away, and when she won her appeal, saw her attorney's child taken away? These former CPS workers say that kind of retaliatory power is common, and in this secretive one-side system, they can take your kids away right now if they want to and get away with it.
Now arrives the hour of action.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it.
For depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury.
To subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws.
All experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed.
But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security.
We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And we're going to take our country back from these people.
We will take back our constitutional God-given rights.
damn right.
Now arrives the hour of...
You're damn right. You're damn right. States are profiting off the destruction of our families. What do we want? Justice! States are profiting off the destruction of our families. You're damn right. States are profiting off the destruction of our families. What do we want? Justice! States are profiting off the destruction of our families.
And we're going to take our country back from these people.
You're damn right. You're damn right.
Now arrives the hour of action.
Hey, everybody. It's Friday. Congratulations, you made it through the week. If you're on the East Coast, your day is wrapping up. If you're on the West Coast, you've got a couple more hours to go. But this is the first annual in Clarkesville, Georgia, Remembrance of Nancy Scheafer event live show. Live at 5, event show. So this is just a quick update. The main show today is going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5. I can still call it live at 5 because it's 5 p.m. Pacific. Because Billy Elson will be joining us to perform some of his music, get us motivated, get us pumped up to get to this event. Right now, before I bring Ed on, Ed is with us. If I can find... Oh, it might help if I go here. So right here, this is the event page on Facebook. So we have, let's see, 28 going, 130 interested. That's pretty damn good, especially since I know that a lot of those 28 are bringing family members, some, quite a few family members who live relatively locally in Georgia. So I'm guesstimating that 28 represents about 50 people, and then we have other friends and colleagues and hopefully family members attending as well. There's 130 interested. If you have clicked interested, expect a call from me this weekend to see if I can convince you to change your interested click into a going click. That would mean a lot to me to meet all of you people. I mean, there hasn't been a large event in Florida, in the South in quite some time. There's been a couple of things that happened in Florida with Connie Regularly, and I think the Father's Rights Movement did something in Tallahassee, I don't know, a year plus ago. But that was a pretty small event. I haven't seen anything in the South literally since I started, working in this community with the family rights movement, family law reform community. So if there's anything I can do to convince you to change your interested into going, that's going to be kind of my focus this weekend. I had some personal things the last couple of days. I thought I had it wrapped up Wednesday, and then it went over into Thursday, and then at 5:33 I remember I was clear, and I almost went live, but I'm like, tomorrow's going to be huge, meaning today. Doing a quick show now at 5, and then a longer, a spectacular show at 8 p.m. So don't miss that. The reason Ed is joining, Ed usually joins us. Do you want me to bring you on camera, Ed?
You can just let them know.
Okay. So Ed is with me, and Ed is not only picking up some of Billy's equipment on the way, because Billy's flying, Ed is driving. Ed is also carpooling with a bunch of people, and he needs some confirmation from a couple of individuals that they're definitely going. So Ed, it's yours. Say what you got to say, my friend.
Just make contact with me. If you're going, I'm going from Connecticut, playing on through Pennsylvania, through South Carolina, North Carolina, right into Georgia.
Yep.
Anybody that's planning on taking that ride, give me a holler or send me an IM so we can get it together.
Yep. We are what, 9 days out now?
Yes, 9 days.
9
8 days from our trip, because I'm leaving Thursday.
Right, you're leaving Thursday, so not 7. That's 6 days. 6 days
for them.
Yep, and 6 days for me. I'm leaving Thursday as well. And I do have an extra seat if anybody in the, Northeast Kingdom would like to go. The only problem is I'm not heading right back north. I'm going south to see my son for spring break. So that probably won't work out. But if you're flying from Florida to Georgia, I can drive you back to Florida. Or if you can get a ride or carpool, or if you're going anywhere from Florida, I can at least get you to Tampa, Florida, or even Orlando if you need a ride back in that direction. So that's
we're doing the trip into Washington.
Right. So if you want to go to both events, the first annual Clarkesville, Georgia Remembrance of Nancy Scheafer, and the sister event, the third annual Remembrance of Nancy Scheafer in Washington, D.C., connect with Ed, and you'll be able to go to both. And there's plenty of people driving in Ed's vehicle, so you'll be able to get sleep. He's going to be staying all the way through until 8 o'clock for the candlelight vigil at the ending of the Georgia event, and then heading right to D.C. that night. So it's going to be an event filled trip, full of events. I wish I could go back to D.C., but I'm only 8 hours from my son, and it's spring break, so I just can't not go and see my Cashaboo boy. So really, that is all I wanted to do with this show, is get everybody who's interested in carpooling down with Ed. Please contact him. Ed, maybe you could put your contact information, or what I'll do in the comments, I'll put a link to your profile so people can, darn it, get rid of that, so people can get in touch with you. Share, thank you. Yes, please share. Hi, Donna, hugs. You have a great weekend too. Terry LaPointe will be joining us on Monday. If anybody who is speaking at the event would like to come on the show, let me know, because I'm not planning on doing a show Saturday or Sunday. But if you'd like to do a show, whether you're speaking or performing, we can do Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If you'd like, just let me know. So really, like I said, that's all. I'm going to keep this short. We're only at 10 minutes, not including the previous video of the CPS, corruption, and a couple of short clips of Nancy Scheafer. So again, get in touch with Ed if you want to go to both events and carpool down with him. There's plenty of places to stay at the campground, so you won't have to worry about that. And if you want to come on the show between now and Wednesday, let me know. Stay tuned tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Billy Elson is going to be joining us to play some of his music through Skype. He's Skyping in. Zoom will be up so people can call in the show and let him know how talented he is. He's an amazing musician, and I'm hoping this will kind of tilt the scale for some of you. Like, all right, I'm going. I'm definitely going to support the family rights movement, to support family law reform, support Nancy Scheafer, and support Billy and the rest of the performers and all of the speakers. I love you guys. I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Please join us in a little less than 3 hours. I love you. See you then.
Now
concludes
the hour of action.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it.
For depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury.
To subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws.
All experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed.
But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security.
We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
And we're going to take our country back from these people.